Tannen Grace versus Daniel Savage. So this is from both teams with 2 losses. Looking across our matchups, in the middle seat we have Kevin Toolan playing Burn. He's going to face off against the Jeskai control deck. Maybe you'll see those Lightning Helixes be good.
This is their spot.
In the standard match, Andrew Hollingsworth on green-red ramp is playing against Kevin Jones's Esper aggro deck.
That's a matchup where I'm happier to have counter spells than Mardu cards.
Yeah, on the surface, I like the matchups, all of them, for the team of Grace, Fear, and Jones.
Mm-hmm. I think of them, this Legacy match is the one that you would worry about.
Yeah, this one might be the closest. I mean, Kevin has been just rock solid this weekend. We've had them on camera twice. Kevin 4-0 in games on camera here. His deck looks great. His play has looked great.
Mm-hmm. And Savage did lead on Scalding Tarn here, and Tannen looks like he either didn't have or decided not to represent the Stifle, which can be a really big difference maker in this matchup.
Now, with Tarn, he doesn't necessarily know what his opponent's on. You see multiple Lotus Petals in Daniel's hand, so you may see some early fireworks here.
Tannen's hand would have to be pretty bad to play Ponder over leaving up Stifle. Gotta figure he just didn't have it.
See second land, Force of Will, 2 Petals, Sneak Attack, Emrakul are in Daniel's hand. So let's see where we go.
Yeah. Double Petal Sneak Attack is extremely risky. You're just gonna run right into Daze.
Well, if he has Force Blue card with it,
then
that's
makes
his
it
whole
better.
hand.
That makes it better.
Lotus Petal, okay. Now we're having fun.
Lotus Petal resolves.
Yeah, you see the rest of his hand: Sneak Attack, Emrakul, Force of Will, Blue card, Lotus Petal.
Okay.
Let's play all 5. Second Petal. Sack the petals. Sneak Attack. You can Daze it or force it.
It's like he
resolves. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Yeah, Tannen just with multiple brainstorms, just some kind of nonsense that he has to convert. And under the Sneak Attack.
All right, so Ryan, Sneak Attack's on the table. Tannen has no discard for the Emrakul because he's playing Stifles instead.
You can consider this game over. You can't stifle Sneak Attack in any meaningful way. Not when your opponent's at 19.
For 1 turn. If you draw
for 1 red mana. Not even necessarily a full turn.
Yeah, Daniel doesn't have another land in hand.
To be fair, Daniel should have fetched second Volcanic Island because Wasteland already just kind of colds him here off of his red mana.
Oh, yeah.
So if Tannen has a Wasteland for that Volcanic Island, maybe we have a game.
That's so good. Brainstorm. I hope he finds it. That's the Force Will plus blue card in Daniel's hand. Can't deal with that. Don't believe it. I don't see a Wasteland.
Yeah, with no Wasteland, there's not going to be much more magic happening here. And Tannen really is just kind of hoping that there's nothing to be snuck in, but there is Emrakul hanging out there.
Right. Even if there was no finisher in Daniel's hand, he still would have likely peddled out this Sneak Attack.
Right.
So Tannen can't be sure.
You just want to get this on the table against blue decks.
Here's Delver of Secrets. And here's Emrakul. 15-15, she swings in. Kills Tannen's permanents, deals him 15. He'll drop to 4. Emrakul into the graveyard, and it shuffles back in. Remember, Tannen's not conceding here. He just lost his permanents. So we're actually still playing. Daniel has to find another source of damage.
And fetch land there for Tannen means no Wasteland in this turn either. Daniel did miss his 3rd land drop.
Right, Daniel picked up Omniscience. He has Forceful, Omniscience, and Cunning Wish. So I do want to look over then at the Wish board for Dan. Can he turn eventually that Cunning Wish into a threat or something he can do?
Well, he has a sideboard Eladamri's Call. It costs green-white. You need to control Omniscience to actually do anything with this one.
Yeah, that's part of that's something borrowed from the Omnitel package. We see Gurmag Angler's going to eat a Force of Will. Daniel pitching the Omniscience.
Yeah, may as well.
And casts Ponder. Can he find another monster? Not yet. No, doesn't look like we have
Brainstorm, Preordained, Volcanic Island.
Well, I'd keep those.
I would shuffle those. You can do better with your ponder. I suppose because of the volcanic island, this does protect him against wasteland, and it has a couple of cantrips.
No, because you have time, you take both cantrips, and it's actually like wishing for more wishes in a way where you'll see more cards. If you want to just see the most cards possible, it's better to just take all the cantrips.
Well, these cantrips need to hit. Using Preordained to draw into another cantrip, not ideal. I do think that the redeeming quality is actually the volcanic island, because it's kind of mopey with the cantrips. He does want to actually close the game, but now he's not just dead to wasteland.
And I do like that. Right, so you mentioned he can... Now, one thing he can do, Ryan, here, is he can Cunning Wish for Intuition out of his sideboard and Intuition for a finisher, right?
Sure.
A little slow, but he's got time. Another fetch land for Savage.
And you saw Tannen pointed a Thought Scour at Savage there, got the last card that was left on top.
Ooh, I like that when you Thought Scour your opponent. Brainstorm for Tannen, trying to remake some lands. He's got to know that his time is short here before Daniel finds another creature.
And with Scalding Tarn there, in addition to those two volcanic islands, Daniel will not be off of red mana. And Tannen not playing any Spell Pierce. His counter suite is Daze, Force of Will, End of List.
Now it looks like he does have Force of Will and a blue card. So when Daniel goes for this Cunning Wish or Intuition, Tannen will be at the ready. But he has not found another land yet. See, Daniel casts Cunning Wish. That gets hit by Force of Will.
Tannen needs to find a threat fast. That's really what he needs to do here. He can't interact meaningfully with the sneak attack on the table.
Deathrite Shaman and Wasteland for Tannen. So hitting 2 mana sources there is going to be good. It's a clock.
Yeah, Shaman, technically a clock. It takes some time, but the Sneak and Show deck does still have a decent amount of dead draws. See Ancient Tomb off the top there, a second Ancient Tomb in hand.
Yeah, and one thing I would have liked to see Daniel have played there is you saw the turn with Ponder. He pondered into Preordain and then just immediately cast the Preordain to draw, basically scry top and draw.
Would have waited on that one.
I would have actually liked, his top 3 is Brainstorm, Preordain. I would have liked to play where he pondered and drew a card and then just didn't cast the first cantrip and naturally drawn the second so that you could go Preordain, bottom, draw, Brainstorm, draw.
Exactly. Actually see fresh cards with your cantrips.
Slow down turn and see the most possible cards, because once you find the creep monster here, it's not like Tannen can Force of Will the Emrakul when he draws it. I mean, Sneak Attack's already in play.
Yeah. And because he's just drawing to that one specific thing, you know, having those extra cantrips, they technically were... You see more cards over just shuffling off of the Ponder, but when you use the one cantrip to draw the other, you're not really meaningfully seeing cards.
Yeah, shuffling's fine. It gets you one more. Like I mentioned, if you just draw the 2 cantrips and then slow play all of them to max value them, you can see the most cards. And now Tannen's starting to get rolling here. 2 Deathrite Shamans, a cast of Brainstorm. He's got a lot to like, except for the fact that the Sneak Attack's in play. He's 1 top deck from dead.
Right.
And these dazes that he put back to the Brainstorm aren't going to help him at all at this point.
He unfortunately won't be able to fetch those away, as his land is Wasteland.
Oh, there's no way. There's no Thought Scour. There's nothing to do here. He's going to use both Wastelands on the Volcanic Islands. Now check number of Volcanic Islands here in Daniel's deck.
So there's another Volcanic Island. There's also a basic mountain, and he has Scalding Tarn on the battlefield, so we can just go ahead and fetch away the mountain. Register the mountain in his spell slot.
In the creature, all the lands are on one side, and the mountain is hanging out with the creatures. My first thought was he didn't play the basic mountain. No, it's just... Tannen gonna attack. Ponder. Uh-oh. 3 more. 4. No creature in those. Looks like Force of Will, Omniscience land. That's an easy shuffle.
Oh yeah, get rid of all that. He has the fetch land up, so if he wanted 1, he could take it, but he doesn't want any of that.
Well, while Tannen tries to eke out this game, his teammates are just taking care of business. Harlan Fear wins Game 1 in Modern over Kevin Toolan, and Kevin Jones taking Game 1 over Andrew Hollingsworth in Standard.
think Cunning Wish the pickup here. So we can
Sure.
again go for the Cunning Wish for the intuition. Now because Tannen Force of Willed the Cunning Wish and not the sideboard intuition itself, that made this a live draw.
Yeah. Tannen's going to Thought Scour his own Dazes away. That's a really strong play.
Yeah, that'll help him see some fresh cards.
Yeah, and I was wondering with that Cunning Wish, is there a reason, or there a possible instance that Tannen would be scared of that would make him want to counter there?
Well, now he's scared of the sudden shock in the sideboard because he's at 2.
Oh! Indeed.
Ooh, and crack the fetch by Daniel, and there's Stifle from Tannen.
Okay.
And now sudden shock can't be cast. No red mana, and now the sneak attack can't be activated. That Stifle was huge.
Right, he can't. Okay. He's going to need red mana. Though with the red mana, he'll win uncounterably with the sudden shock. Tannen's doing this. Here's the Ponder. Is one of the things about Emrakul, it's not actually she's not a 20-point swing, just
Right.
15. And sometimes you see this happen with Sneak and Show where they manage to Emrakul their opponents and then can't finish.
Yeah, if you're only going to get one hit in, you would prefer it be the draw 7 off of Gristlebrand.
Right. Well, because then Gristlebrand usually draws the Emrakul, and then
Right.
you do everything.
Yeah, the draw 7 matters more, especially if your opponent's hitting land drops after you annihilate them.
Delver's the cast for Tannen. He's doing it. Looks like Delver is going to be Force of Willed.
Can't race that much. And it does make sense to Force of Will the Delver there, as silly as it looks.
Well, what else are you Force of Willing?
Exactly. You just have to stop from dying.
Down to 11. See if Daniel's going to Ancient Tomb for this Cunning Wish. He will go down to 9. And I'm wondering, would you get Sudden Shock here? Or, I suppose, right?
If you find a red mana, that's an uncounterable way to win the game.
Tannen doesn't have green
Tannen
mana
has
in play.
Deathrite Shamans on the battlefield. He has a Delver in his graveyard. You can use one Shaman to make a green mana, another Shaman for the other, so the Sudden Shock's probably just dead.
Right, so he's going to get the Intuition.
Especially because you have to Cunning Wish for it face up. Tannen could just use a turn to gain 2 life.
Omniscience, the pickup for Daniel Savage.
And because these are cast off of Ancient Tomb, Savage had a functional 7. He needs to find something to cheat in and a red mana. So the Intuition does one of those things. Top of the deck still needs to do the other.
And Ryan, going back to, you had mentioned on the very first turn, second turn of the game, that he should have fetched for a volcanic island instead of that basic.
Yep.
How much has that mattered?
If he loses the game, that will be the mistake that decided it.
Yeah, he could, if he had that volcanic here, that last turn on when he end-step Cunning Wished, it could have been for Sudden Shock, and he would have just untapped and won.
Right. Looks like he brainstormed into some creatures to cheat in,
All right,
but
here's
still hasn't
Emrakul.
found the red mana.
Well, he has Intuition, and if he has enough fetch lands...
Well, he doesn't have a blue mana to cast that this turn. He needs to do it off of Ancient Tomb. Tannen has a Lightning Bolt in his hand.
Right, we have to see... So Tannen will put Daniel down to 6. Does Tannen have 6 points of damage? He actually only needs 4.
And there's a fetch land off the top. Lightning Bolt, Shaman activation, attack with the other Shaman.
Attack for 1. Daniel's at 5. Wow. Tannen fetches down to 1, but yeah, Volcanic Island. It looks like it to me. This looks like 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the Deathrite. What a comeback.
Yeah, and that stifle from Tannen on that Scalding Tarn,
that
plus
was
the heads up wasting the other 2 duels there.
Daniel checks with his teammates. Yeah, and that's 5. Tannen Grace takes the first game with Grixis Delver. Big comeback there for the team.
And Tannen has to be thrilled about winning that game.
Wow, so a clean sweep in game 1s for the team of Grace, Fear, and Jones. Well, look at some of the sideboards. Gotta feel like you let that Sneak and Show that's a hard one to lose.
It is. Yeah. Anytime you resolve sneak attack, that should be just a win against a blue deck.
Yeah, I mean, and you want it to be. I think if when you're experienced pilot here and you see these players are in day 2, there is some percentage where you're going to sneak attack an Emrakul and lose. That's part of the deck.
Right.
Let's look at the sideboards. Okay, so I want to start with Daniel Savage. 2 Pyroblasts, 2 Blood Moons, and then a lot of 1-ofs. Now, many of these are part of the wish board for the deck.
Right.
You see, so the lack cards, I'll release the Ants all the way down through Firemind's Foresight. I don't believe any of those actually get boarded in any matchups.
Right. Yeah, sometimes, you kind of want Kozilek's Return because it's easier to cast it on time over wishing for it. But it is a little dicey to bring it into your deck, actually. The cards you'll be bringing in, Blood Moon's great. There's no basic lands in Tannen's deck. Pyroblast both fights Counter Wars, kills Delver's Secrets, so that one's quite good.
Yeah, so those first 4 are good, and then I just want to do the last 3 because the other 8 are a wish board. Surgical Extraction, Flusterstorm, Sudden Shock.
You might see Flusterstorm coming in just to fight Counter Wars, and actually there's a pretty good argument for that one. That's not one that you probably want to actually wish for. The other ones, I don't think that they're quite good enough. As the combo deck, you don't want to be casting Surgical against a blue deck. That's just pretty loose.
All right. Now on Tannen's side, now he knows he's against a combo deck. I assume we're going to see some good sideboarding, and one of the things I like about Delver and Legacy is how well it plays its sideboard.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we have here?
Yeah, so for the full sideboard, there's 3 Surgical Extraction, 3 Pyroblast, 2 Thoughtseize, a Forked Bolt, an Ancient Grudge, a Golgari Charm, a Bitter Blossom, a Marsh Casualties, a Pithing Needle, and a Null Rod. So there's actually a lot of good stuff here. The Pithing Needle shuts off Sneak Attack.
Like that?
That one's solid. Golgari Charm also can destroy Sneak Attack, so that one's reasonable for that reason.
Does he generally get a window to destroy Sneak Attack?
He did that game. It doesn't always happen. He has some stuff he wants to board out here. Those Lightning Bolts are not going to play in the sideboarded games. You don't really want to go heavy on sorcery speed creatures either, so frequently you'll see some of that stuff trimmed as well. The Thoughtseize are great. Pyroblast is great. Most combo decks, and I think this is certainly one of them, are a little bit too diverse to meaningfully surgically extract anything. Now, Tannen does have 2 Snapcaster Mage.
Right.
A little easier to convert that, but he has so much other good stuff and not a ton that he needs to sideboard out.
I'm a little interested. So because Tannen's a Brainstorm deck, he can always shuffle it away. Because he's seen Intuitions out of Daniel Savage, that generally is a counter to Intuition. I mean, unless your opponent gets 3 different cards, but who does that?
Right. Shouldn't come up in this match, I would have to figure. I
guess if he has a show and tell, he can Intuition for Emrakul, Gristlebrand, Omniscience, but that's that's a weird one.
Yeah. Frequently enough, they'll just find 3 of the one that they really want.
Right.
Tannen would just give him Emrakul and then beat him.
Yeah, sure. Wait, no. If the Emrakul was actually show and telled into play,
Sure, yeah, that's different.
That's different. I don't know how to beat that one. He doesn't. Tannen does not have anything like Diabolic Edict in his board today.
Right.
All right, well, they're going to get ready for a second game. You see the other 2 matches already in game 2. Savage, Toolan, and Hollingsworth at 8-2, looking to gain back some ground here. Now, Star City Games, we have announced our next offering in our creature pre-release playmats. This is the Jolly Rover. This is being given away at the release of Ixalan, this pirate-themed, this motley crew of animals here looking to board that galleon.
They're pretty wholesome pirates. By pirate standards.
I do admire, though, they've all managed to work together here to form a crew. A lot of these are both predators and prey.
Probably a lot of infighting on that ship. Or they're the best of friends, who knows? I don't know anything about these animals. I don't presume to know how they act around each other.
So for Tannen Grace here, the Grixis Delver player, we said a lot of the matches this team have come down to him here. The 32-year-old from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, has 2 open top 8s, still looking for his first open win. A professional Hearthstone commentator as well.
Yep, Tannen's a really good dude. Strong Magic player. Recently came back to the game after a bit of a hiatus. I think we all take those periodically, but went right back to placing well in tournaments.
Yeah, also known as the Tannen Grace, not a Tannen Grace.
You don't want to mistake him for your longtime friend Tannen Grace.
Well, things continue to go well here. For the 6 out of 6 now in games on camera, Kevin Jones putting the team. Oh, apologies here. Now Kevin Jones still playing, but one match is it's actually Harlan Fear taking game and match.
No.
Kevin.
Some miscommunication. Kevin Toolan on the other side.
Oh,
got two Kevins here.
We have two Kevins. Okay, Kevin Toolan evens things up. All right. Forget everything I said. First win for Savage, Toolan, and Hollingsworth is Kevin Toolan will put a point on the board for Burn.
So while there's only one, the Tannen Grace, there are multiple Kevins. And we are underway here. Savage off the mulligan, leading on Scalding Tarn into Basic Island again. Hopefully he has a hand that is more wasteland proof here. And leading on Ponder.
Yeah, that wasteland for red mana ends up deciding the game, well, among a lot of things. Tannen took game one on just thin margins at a lot of points.
Right. And it looks like the mana base developing here. He has Ancient Tomb and maybe just lands of that nature as second lands. So frequently here, if you have Show and Tell, finding the island is just correct.
Checking the top there on a Ponder. Looks like we have Omniscience as one of the possible threes. Though I don't believe we have that turn 2 Show and Tell. Savage has the mana for it, but maybe perhaps not the cards.
If Show and Tell's not there, and this hand doesn't demonstrate any way to cheat anything in, looks like a shuffle.
Yeah, or an additional cantrip.
Right. You'd want to have at least a cantrip, but if you have to draw 2 of those cards.
Yeah, it would have to be something like Brainstorm and a fetch land in hand, and then you're probably interested because Brainstorm.
Yeah, a lot of plays in Legacy are made because Brainstorm. That much is true.
Delver of Secrets for Tannen Grace. Looks like just a pass for Savage. Leaves up a fetch land. He has Spell Pierce and Omniscience both in hand.
There is some argument for Savage just finding a reason to crack that fetch land main phase because he's already seen Stifle. Right. Frequently you want to get aggressive with those.
Delver of Secrets is going to flip off of Stifle for Tannen. So, and as someone who likes to play combo decks, these are the starts I never want to see when my Delver opponent has a turn 1 good clock, a flipped Delver of Secrets, and then starts showing me stacks of counter magic. I'm really concerned on a combo side to play it to beat that.
If Tannen has one of those sideboard Thoughtseize here and or some counter magic, this is a really good start.
There's a Ponder.
Delver won't just win the game. It's a 7-turn clock. That takes too much time to actually kill, but backed by Disruption, this will win.
Yeah. The scary part when you play against them is that they have the Delver, and then there's some disruption, and then they bolt you out within the last turn or something like that.
Right. I would trade not flipping my Delver for 2 or 3 turns if it means a stacked hand of interaction.
Sure. A draw off the Ponder and shuffle from Tannen, and it looks like he was actually fishing for land 2 there and didn't see it in all 4.
He does have Pyroblast in hand and Force of Will hanging out there, so his hand is pretty good, but light on mana.
Delver, Brainstorm, Delver, Daze, Thought Scour, Force of Will.
Oh yeah, this hand is stacked with interaction.
Yeah,
he does want to find that other land. The thing about it is the deck on the other side of the table. Sometimes these decks do have Daze. It does look like Savage is not packing that one, but he does have his own Force of Wills anyway.
Yeah, Tannen has Force and blue card. You actually see he goes to his discard here because he wants to looks like he wants to leave up Daze, Force, and Pyroblast, which if he played any cantrip, he risks missing that.
Right. If he goes for Brainstorm there and he misses, not only because he's not leave up Pyroblast, but he's also Brainstorm locked.
Right. And he can cantrip. End step, he's going to Thought Scour himself as Daniel just passes him the turn. Draws Gurmag Angler. Can he hit the land here? No. Golgari Charm, another miss.
All right, things getting a little bit awkward, but he still has the battlefield.
Is that 7-turn clock you were talking about? Here it comes.
It adds up.
Daniel's at 10. It's probably 3 more turns. Daniel's going to have to use some of these fetch lands here.
And Tannen looking at discarding the Golgari Charm. Can't cast that with Volcanic Island. I'd get rid of that for sure.
You're 2 lands away from it instead of 1. Yeah, gross.
Also, with so many lands on the battlefield for Savage, when are you ever going to be able to go Golgari Charm?
And another land here for Savage represents 6 mana. It's got multiple petals. Maybe he's going to go for that Omniscience. So only 2 mana short. And then he'll get Pyroblasted.
Big problem here. Polluted Delta picked up by Tannen Grace.
Now his hand is online. It's interesting here. He's going to use it and just crack the fetch land. He has a Brainstorm in hand, but
he wants to leave up Pyroblast, and he wants to fetch Underground Sea. So Brainstorm there first just doesn't play.
Yeah, and I suppose with Brainstorm, the idea is you shuffle away your weak cards to get better ones, but Tannen doesn't have weak cards.
Yeah, his hand is made. You know, there's an argument for shuffling away. It looks like he has 2 more Delvers. Don't really want any of that, but one pitches the Force.
Yeah.
And then the other one is just 1 card and a handful of good stuff.
And now Tannen will cast Gurmag Angler, so he's got lethal on board, and he's sitting back behind 3 counter spells. I like where he is.
Yeah, feels good.
Force of Will, a pickup for Savage. I just think Savage never found a win condition here.
Yeah, this hand doesn't look like it does anything.
It's Omniscience, Gristlebrand, Force of Will, Spell Pierce, Lotus Petal, Lotus Petal.
So he can get up to 8 mana off of Petals. Not enough for Omniscience, and he does not have black lands that he can find, so he can't cast Gristlebrand.
He would need all his Lotus Petals to just cast Gristlebrand. That doesn't work.
Don't see many hard cast Gristlebrands in Legacy. You never see him out of this deck.
Yeah, I've seen him out of Reanimator, I think, once.
Often enough in Reanimator, they just like draw more fetches than fetchables. And
yeah, they don't. Sometimes these decks just don't have the physical lands to cast it.
Right.
Well, 2 Petals from Savage, those resolve. But where next?
Ooh, and just no action. This looks like it's going to be a lethal attack.
Unless we're missing something. A swing for 8. There was some awkwardness in Tannen's hand, but Daniel kept a speculative combo hand, and this is part of playing the deck. It was a percentage keep, and the percentage missed. Daniel was not able to present any sort of pressure. And 2-0, Tannen Grace, Grixis Delver is your winner.
Yeah, one land hand can be a little bit dicey. He had the turn 1 Delver, some good disruption, and he hit the land before anything meaningful happened. You didn't have to expend any cards. And so now just down Harlan Fear or Kevin Jones can win their match, and it looks like they both are in game. Harlan in the middle of game 3, Kevin Jones going to game 3.
Yeah, we have a win here in game 2 for Green Red Ramp and for Andrew Hollingsworth. So those 2 even up. We're going to jump over to our modern game underway. This is Fear versus Toolan.
We'll see if Harlan can convert those lightning helixes into game wins.
Toolan and Hollingsworth are going to need wins. So we're going to go over to the game. 11 and 12 our life totals. 11 for our burn player, Kevin Toolan. 12 for Harlan Fear on Jeskai Control.
12 is comfortable on a lot of battlefields, and this looks to be one of them. Harlan 5 lands facing on Monastery Swift Spear.
Untapping here with Lightning Helix in hand. We mentioned how Lightning Helix has not been good this tournament, but this is the matchup for it.
As long as he can get it under a Skullcrack, he should be in a great shape. If a Skullcrack happens, things might get dicey, but
we're
even
still
then,
playing.
Right.
You see Spell Queller in hand too.
Well, that makes this easy.
So Flooded Strand for Harlan makes land 6. Looks like he's on Spell Queller, Serum Visions, Lightning Helix.
Cracking a fetch there so you can cast Serum Visions. You always want to shuffle before you do your scrying.
All right, Life Totals have confirmed are correct here. 9 for Harlan Fear. He'll cast Serum Visions. Draws a Spire Bluff Canal. Top of the deck shows another Lightning Helix. We're pretty in.
Yeah, Lightning Helix should for sure stay on top. Serum Visions probably as well. And I like the way he ordered them too. He put the Helix under the Visions. That way he knows he's drawing a card he wants off the Serum Visions. And then he gets to scry.
I agree. I really like that sequencing. Karn looking just to play a defensive game plan here if he helixes away these creature threats. Swift Spear will attack, and looks like Harlan will just jump a Spell Queller into play to block.
Yeah, that'll force a spell to either kill the Spell Queller or to cause the Swift Spear to survive. And then Harlan can go for the Lightning Helix.
And it blocks. You see there is a Searing Blaze. in Kevin's hand. I don't believe there's landfall. He'll do 1 and 1 with the Searing Blaze.
That forces the trade in combat because it knocks the toughness off.
Well, it actually wins the combat for Swift Spear unless Harlan makes a play. But it's still a gain for Harlan because now there was just a Searing Blaze cast without landfall on Kevin's side. It's like Harlan gained 2.
Yeah, it took a lot of damage off of that.
And Spellqueller's down. Harlan's going to Lightning Helix the Swift Spear, and Skullcrack is the play.
All right, so now Harlan does have a clear window to use Lightning Helix.
Yeah, I was interested on the timing there. Harlan could have attempted to save his creature with the Lightning Helix. Either way, though, here's another Helix. That one's going to shoot upstairs. Harlan going up to 8.
So the Swift Spear already had 3 toughness with the spell already resolved. Maybe went a little bit too fast on the Blaze. But if he just points the Helix there in response to the Prowess trigger, he can get it.
Right. Suspended Rift Bolt for Toolan. Both players at 8. It's a burn race now.
Harlan with Lightning Bolt Electrolyze. That's a lot of damage.
5.
Celestial Colonnades 4 more.
Okay, puts Kevin down to 4. You're right. Harlan has lethal on the next turn. He'll go to 5 off this Rift Bolt. Can Kevin finish him off here before Harlan untaps?
Ooh, there's a fetch land in hand, so that's a no.
Don't think so. There's no 5-point burn spell. So for Harlan, everything looks okay in his hand. He looks at it too. The Colonnade may have just been enough on its own without the burn spells. Here's Electrolyze. Toolan to 2.
I like that he plays it a little bit safe here.
Yeah, and Snapcaster now means no reason to play it safe. Well, actually just passes.
Well, he's leaving up Snapcaster Lightning Helix in case 2 burn spells come at him. I do like this a lot. Leaving up Interaction when you go for lethal is just a lot safer than going for it. You know, Kevin had 2 cards in hand. Harlan didn't know that one of them was blank.
Lightning Bolt for lethal. Kevin Toolan responds with Lightning Helix. Fear will spell quell it, and that is going to be the match. Harlan Fear wins in Modern with Jeskai Control, 2-1. So with his match win and Tannen's match win, that will be a win in the round for the team of Grace, Fear, and Jones.
Lightning Helix doing work at long last. Saw it previously not match up well against some Thought-Knot Seer.